we have poor performance in terms of health and safety, trust me, our image shall be tarnished, we shall lose it, and our graph shall always shoot down. So it's high time we consider safety as an important aspect and ensure that we build on that to uplift our reputations. On the next slide, I'll take ourselves through one of the activities that we normally do. Work at height. I know there are quite many activities that we do, but it's important we first look at this. Others will follow up small with the time. I've been watching our activities on the platforms, and a lot of questions ring into my mind. Normally, one thing I respect so much is someone working at height. It's not an easy job. It is not an easy environment to work at height. So, if working at height is a must, then safety is a must at that level. Working at height, it's not a playground that a team will go up there and do the stuff the way they want. It's important that we look at this activity of work at height. What do we normally do at height? Quite many activities. What hazards do we experience while working at height? There are quite many. At the end of the day, you come down when you are safe. You praise yourself and you praise perhaps your God and say thanks for the work well done. Otherwise, it's a high risk. I remember one of the workplaces that I was, and I climbed at a height almost like a tower. That is how disturbing it comes to my mind. But it's important that since our activity here, one of the crucial activities we are having is working at height, which has a lot of hazards. We need to take it seriously, team. It is so bad if we record a number of accidents at height. So working at height, we are going to look at just the basic theory. Practical, we are organizing for work at height practical with the external service provider, if all goes well, whereby our team members shall be certified to work at height. For theory, we can take theory. I know also in the other training there will be theory, but this is just like a refresher to get to understand, to remind ourselves, to create awareness, and so that we get to understand what work at height is. By definition, we are looking at work at height as any place where if precautions are not taken, the person could fall a distance liable to cause him or her personal injury. It can be above or below the ground. In most cases, you find the standard normally for work at height could be like from 1.5 or 1.2 and above. Some other companies consider it 1.2, that's work at height, others 1.5, others 2 meters and above. So no matter the height you consider, but the most common thing here to know is that you are working above the ground and it needs precautions, it needs safe working procedures, and it needs close supervision. So if you look at the nature of our activities, working at height, climbing poles, it's so risky, so risky. So therefore, it's important that we look at work at height as one of the crucial activities that we need to ensure every time we work at height, we work safely. Take all possible means to work safely. The basic theory here is that it's just a knowledge and awareness based on that includes fundamental elements on how to work safely at height. In other words, you need to know your rights and responsibilities related to working at height as an individual, whether a supervisor or a manager or a safety officer, whether a casual worker on the ground, whether a technician. We need to know our rights and responsibilities related to work at height. For example, you as a rigger, it is your right to ask for PPEs for working at height. As a safety personnel, it is his or her responsibility to ensure that the rigger complies with work at height procedure. As a manager, it is his or her responsibility to ensure that the team working at height has received or gives financial support to ensure that they receive the required PPEs for work at height. So it's important that we get to know our rights, responsibilities related to working at height. Then also warning methods and physical barriers. You need to know that any category, whether supervisor, whether the rigger, technician, there are warnings that we need to get to understand. You're going to work at height, but the power line is live. Perhaps it's generating some of abnormal noise sound that you don't feel comfortable with, or there's some leakage. You need to notify. You need to look at some of those barriers. So you don't just need to say it's the duty of a safety officer. That is the work for the manager. This is the work for the supervisor. No, it is all our responsibility to get to know the sign, the warning methods, the physical barriers that we encounter during work at height activities. The other thing is also we need to identify hazards of working at heights. It is common that most of our people, not only here, it's general, sometimes work at height, but they don't know the hazards that they encounter. Sometimes it could be unsafe act or unsafe behavior in relation to safety culture. Some people say, I've been doing this for several years. There is no need for me to put helmet at height. Some people may say, the sky is high. Nothing will fall from the sky to hit my head. That culture is negative. It's a good culture for you to say, without a helmet at height, you can fall down and you hit your head on the ground. So when you have that culture of saying, stop, put on your helmet while at height, it is important. That's a positive culture that we need to embrace. So it's important that we also get to understand or to know identifying hazards that we encounter during working at height. Then it's also important that the basic introduction to PPE theory is given to our people. That is why I'm here. That's why supervisors are there. That's why managers are there. That's why all team members are there. Therefore, we need to understand that these are the PPEs we need for work at height. This is how we use it. This is how we maintain it. It's unfortunate that I still find some people in sites, not only managed services, but other areas like FTTH, FTTS, C squared. You find network deployment areas. You find somebody putting on helmet the other side around. He removes his reflector. He ties on the head. That is not how we use it. But well, it's all our responsibility as supervisors, uh, technical people, managers to see these errors and then rectify them. So, introduction of to PPE theory is important that we get to understand how it's used, why PPEs are important, how you should maintain your PPEs, and comply with the usage of our PPEs. Just like the way our manager brought it out here, that we shall do all our best to provide ourselves with these PPEs. Failure to comply with its usage is going to be another story. Let us not reach to that level. When it's provided, use it. If you don't know how to use it, ask. We shall always train people on how to use it, maintain it, and keep it safe. Then, lastly, on this part is about understanding the hierarchy of controls and limitations of personal protective equipment. It's also important that we need to understand PPEs. It's not a first priority to prevention or control of hazards. Cases I see people PPE. We need a PPE. True, it's our right to ask for PPEs, but it's also important for us to know that PPEs, according to hierarchy of control, is the last control measure for hazard preventions at workplaces. However, works hand in hand with other methods of hazard prevention like elimination, substitution, engineering, and administrative. So they complement each other, but it's important that we embrace all of them and try to see if the hazard can be eliminated, well and good. If the hazard can be substituted and be used we can substitute and use with another component which is less hazardous or which has no hazard, then it's well and good. We can use engineering methods like trying to create a barrier between the worker and the hazard. It's a good way to go. We can say administrative controls, put in policies that we have, compliance. We try to create awareness, training, so that we get to understand all other aspects involved in the hierarchy of control, and then PPE usage. So when we use all these control, these hierarchy aspects of uh, hazard control, it is much better than relying only on one. However, if the activity involves use of this control measure, we definitely have to use it. For instance, our bike operators, if we give you all the PPEs for a bike, helmet, gloves, uh, dressings, footwears, knee cap, elbow cap, everything is given to you, and you don't respect the traffic rules, you will get an accident. So PPE will not stop you from getting that accident. You'll definitely get. But if you are compliant with the traffic rules, you have your PPEs, you comply with the traffic rules, you comply with the administrative procedures put in place, trust me, everything will be moving on well. Therefore, we need to embrace all of them and ensure that we try to comply. I'm moving a little bit faster. I'm moving to the next slide. I don't know if you're able to see. Yes. Okay. 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 Uh, moving to our slide number 4 is talking about our rights and responsibilities. Somewhere back there in I think slide 3, I was trying to mention about rights and responsibilities. Here I'm trying to categorize it into two: for supervisors, HSC team, management, and then the employees. So here we are trying to say that, well, the company has got a sole responsibility to ensure the safety and health of workers. Supervisors, HSE team, the managers, we still have to transfer this message down to the team to ensure that they are in a working environment safely and they have to work safely. So one of the rights and possibilities here, we are looking at demonstration of full commitment to safe working procedures. That should come from at that level of supervisors and management. If we don't demonstrate that, we just talk and leave it hanging, it will not help. It will not sound any meaningful end result. It's important that we demonstrate it. If it means to provide this PPE, if it means to provide this code of conduct, if it means to provide this procedure, we shall have to do it. If it means to demonstrate in terms of financial support, we have to do it. And then allocate resources for safe work procedures is also responsibility of the top management to ensure. But what about we who are below the top management? We have to lobby for that. We have to ask for it. We have to ensure we bring it to the attention of the top managers that in our section, in our side, in our department, we are lacking ABCD. So when we bring to their attention, they are able to support and provide the required role of them. Then providing suitable work equipment. I believe at any one time, Sultan will not provide an equipment which is not suitable for use. For example, I've seen we purchase climbing clutches or climbing shoes. We, we purchase new one. That is how it's supposed to be done. So we are trying to ensure that we provide the ones which are suitable. But the user also should also understand that if it's inconveniencing him or her, they have now the right to come in and say this is ABCD, we need to rectify all this, or we can take it back for further scrutiny and understand how best it is impacting us. Because one thing we need to understand also is that the PPEs we provide, it can be harmful if it's defective. It can be harmful if we don't use it correctly. So it's good that we ensure we provide a suitable work equipment for our team. Then ensuring that work at height equipments are regularly inspected. Our work at height, I've seen most cases we use a climbing shoe, the belt, helmet. I think these are the three crucial that we have to ensure that the team working at height, it's a must case. Before you climb up, you inspect your tools, you inspect your PPEs for climbing up. After inspecting them, you trace them, confirm that they are fit for use, then you proceed and go and work at height. Otherwise, if we don't have that culture, most of our workers, not only here in many areas that I've seen, there are few people who do that. Others just come, they don't know what has happened to the equipment the previous day, just begin using it. It may be defected, it may be faulty. So it's important that we do inspection of these items, especially for our team working at height. Imagine if somebody works at height, a rigger is at height, a technician is at height, but the safety belt is worn out or it's torn, or the climbing shoes is broken. What will happen? Is putting himself at risk. So during inspection, you are able to identify some of those areas and ensure that we rectify it. Uh, ensure training programs for work at height. Yeah, it's one of the things that we are doing. I remember telling you sometime back here that we are also planning for external service provider work at height training, where we shall be able to get certificates to certify that our technicians, our staff on the ground have gone through this and they are qualified to do work at height. Then ensuring high level of compliance. This now comes to us, the supervisors. At height, but there is no compliance. The supervisor is at site and he's seeing his worker at height, not putting on helmet. God forbid, what about if he falls down and hits his head on the ground? The worker is at height, but he's not even using, or he's using a climbing shoe which is faulty. It's our responsibility to ensure that we make the team comply with the standards of work at height that is suitable for our activities. We're also trying to see here that one of the responsibilities that ensuring suitable warning notice are posted. I've taken you through this, and it's important that whenever you identify warning notifications, as far as your work at height environment is concerned, you need to share it, communicate it. You'll find maybe the pole you are climbing on is broken. It's just leaning on something weaker that can easily fall down. You don't communicate, you're in the field, and you just climb up. It is your responsibility as a worker or as a supervisor to notify the high level managers to ensure that they know what is happening on the ground as far as your working environment is concerned. If you look at the International Labour Organization Code of Practice, Convention 168-67 of 1990, it is clearly brought out about these warning notifications. It's important that when you bring up notifications, you are trying to prevent an hazard from occurring. You are trying to prevent an occurrence which would have impacted seriously on the company reputation, financials, and maybe things concerning accidents. So it's good that we normally have to bring out these hazards or notifications, and we work around it to ensure that it's managed. Then developing a risk assessment and notifying the team. I think I will do one for work at height, and then I will share it with the teams working at height, and then we notify, we take the team on the ground through it so that they get to understand that work at height has a number of risks that we are exposed to, but we can take these precautions to ensure our safety. So I'll do one of this and then I'll share with the team. Also, down we are looking at the employees' roles, rights, responsibilities. Comply with work at height. We need to ensure that compliance is at its maximum. There is no room for excuse. I'll give an example of, I like picking Vivo. It's not a, just recently, you remember when one of our team, I think working in Vivo around the Kalore or somewhere around town here, they were stopped from working. Why? We are not complying with the PPE level standard for Vivo. It hits at, so we need to learn lessons from this kind of reactions from our clients and improve on that. Until the PPEs were bought for them, that's when they went and worked. What about if Sultan we develop this kind of culture of level of compliance? What about if a rigger tells you, I don't have shoes, I'm not climbing up? Your supervisor, what do you need to do? My climbing shoe here is broken. I'm not climbing up because my life is going to be at risk. That doesn't mean that he is refusing work. He is telling you the likely chances that he's going to face when he climbs at height or uses such kind of defected tool or equipment. So we need to take and embrace this kind of communication and understand what is happening on the ground. Otherwise, if we say compliance, it has to be compliant. There is no negotiation over compliance. Then reporting, as the employee on the ground, you need to report any accident, incident, near miss, or any defect in the work at height equipment. Sometimes accidents happen, somebody picks just a minor injury. That's how we call it. But in actual sense, as far as safety is concerned, we call it minor, major, that's just ranking. We are trying to give it a rate. But all, whether it's a near miss, whether it's minor, it must be taken so seriously. So down on the ground, employees, together with supervisors, when there is any accident, injury, near miss, it's important that we document, we share it. It gives us a platform to understand what happened, how it happened, what can we do to improve so that it does not happen again. But if we keep quiet with some of these situations on the ground, it does not help the safety department at all. We shall not be knowing what is happening on the ground. Because supervisors on the ground, you are the eyes. You are actually the safety personnel at that site. The worker on the ground is responsible also for safety at the site. So let us not keep quiet with the accidents or incidents at the workplaces. We report it immediately. Then we try to see how we can manage such kind of a situation. Employees also on the ground there, it's their right or responsibility to ensure that work tools, equipments, materials at height are secured. I remember there was a time I was at a network deployment, FTTH, Gayaza, Kasangati. And this is an activity that we are pulling a cable at height, trying to tension the cable. One of they call it what, JB, the tool, I think it's a tool they use for holding these cables. It fell down from height. It came and landed down. One, what about if there was someone passing down there, a pedestrian or a community member without helmet? Two, what about if it was a worker who was working also down under the person working at height? Even if he had a helmet or not, what would go wrong? What about if it was a glass that was at height and it fell down? It will get broken, or any sophisticated equipment, it will get broken. So this is how dangerous it is if we don't secure the tools we're having at height. Cases I see our riggers, they climb at height, they have a string of rope that they use for holding some of these tools and the materials, small materials, but don't put too much on your body. It will give you a lot of weight and can pull you down. Put what you can handle. Secure it. It does not fall down. Our working at height is always in it. Sometimes I see the photos on the platforms in a busy environment, streets, busy areas. People are passing here and there. You will not control all these people at once. Barricade that area. If you're not able to barricade the area, somebody has to be there to give directions to people who pass around that place. Hey, somebody is working at height. Please take that route. This is how responsible we should be. So if we don't do all this and somebody gets hurt, injured in that work environment, the community will turn wild on us. So it's important that we take it seriously. We control our working environment. We ensure that persons at height has secured the tools or materials he or she is having at height, and therefore works safely. At the end of the day, nothing comes down to hit someone. So we need to take that also into consideration. The person working at height, as with the people down on the ground, we need to confirm inspection of work at height, personal protective equipment. There are times we receive PPEs for work at height, like climbing clutches at office here or warehouse. I can go through it and I check it, I inspect it. Any receiver can inspect it. But even the person working at site, it is your duty as the supervisor to tell them, this tool you have received, check it, inspect it, confirm that it is good for you in terms of defect, or there are bends or there are cracks on them, so that you can use it without any doubt. So it's a responsibility that a person on the ground who uses this tool must also consider. Finally, on the employee's roles and responsibilities or rights, is that you as an employee, you need to confirm, you need to be sure that you're in a good physical condition to work at height. Sometimes our people working at height, we don't know where they stay, we don't know what how they spend their evening, can come at workplace the next day. When is he intoxicated? He might be sick. He might be under medication. So all these conditions can impair someone's ability to work at height. So if the person, the rigger, for example, who works at height, comes and does not tell you what he's going through, the supervisor on site, you will not know. You will allow him to go and work at height. What about if he begins to see dizziness? Some people have got height issues, but I believe most of the riggers we are using, they have ever gone training, or they are under training, or we are planning training for them. So I see the level of, if we do the training, the level of compliance that we shall have, and then competency. However, if someone is not in a good state to work at height, please let us not force this person to work at height. If the person is under medication, understand from him. You can also develop a method, replace this person, or he has to rest. Other than using the person who has got issues, sickness, is maybe has influence, content of alcohol in him, and he works at height, he might fall down. When we record the death, trust me, it will be a big blow for us. So it's rather important for us not to say this person has died from our side than to say he is off the duty for that day, or he is not working at height for that day. It's much better. So we need to take this seriously, that the condition, the physical condition and health condition of our people working at height should always come to the understanding of the safety personnel, the supervisor, the manager, that this person is not working at a height because of the situation. It's better than putting the life at risk. The next slide is about the risk assessment. This is just briefly, I'm trying to look at two sides of it, the common hazards and then the mitigation. But I'm going to develop a full sheet for risk assessment for work at height, then I'll share just like the way I said. But it's just good for us to get to understand or to know. And for those who are not here, please, as supervisors or team leaders, we pass this message to them that in our working at height, we have quite a number of hazards The most common ones, one, fall from height. It is common that if we don't follow the right procedure, definitely anyone will fall from height. We need to understand that at any workplace that we are operating, if you look at the nature of the work we are doing, climbing on poles, it's quite different with someone working on at a height like in a construction where there is enough working environment, workspace where you can relax, move here and there. But we are working on the pole. Your position, posture is much different from someone who's working on the flat surface but at height. So we need to understand here that fall at height, we cannot avoid it, we cannot dodge this, it can happen, but we can prevent this, we can work around this to ensure that it does not happen as long as we follow safe working procedures and compliance to work at height requirements. Two, structural collapse or instability. Last time I was seeing a post from one of our platforms for network managed services where a pole was rotting. Now, if the pole is rotting to that level, and then you come, you're supposed maybe to remove the JB or remove the cable from that pole without analyzing or assessing the strength of that pole. Trust me, it can collapse. We can have methods. If there is no possibility that somebody is going to fall if he climbs on this pole, it's better we look around the clock. We have cherry pickers. We have lifters. These are equipments, machines that somebody can sit in or stand in a bucket. They lift you up at a height. You remove what you want to remove, and then the pole is brought down without you or a rigger climbing on that pole. Because the pole itself, it's rotten, it's hazardous. If you climb on it, you will fall down, the pole will break, you will fall down. When the pole falls down, the pole will not pick an injury. It's already a rotten pole, but you, the human being, will face it and have the injury. So we need to consider also and look into that. That's this is one of the hazards we have in our working operations. Then the most dangerous one, that every night and day, when I'm at workplace or at home, sleeping, relaxing, it comes into my mind is about overhead power line, electrocution from working nearer or coming into contact with overhead power line. It is so dangerous, so scary. We had an incident in Namamve some time back where our pole got burnt. The pole touched during planting a pole. It touched the 3 HV power line and it got burnt. What about if it was a human being? What about if that pole was in contact with a human being? So this is how dangerous it is. I see sometimes, okay, it's the nature of our work. I see our team technicians at height, a lot of power lines running. When you see from the photo, you may think this person is just next an inch to the power line, but there's a distance, I believe, and it's now all upon us to ensure that our workers at height get to understand, get to assess that these power lines are dangerous. If any slight mistake, somebody will go. So let us work harder to ensure that our team gets to understand these hazards and they have a best way to work not too close. That's why we are saying the warning should be posted. If some of these warnings come onto board to the management, it's much better than taking a message to the top management that our team member was shocked by power. It's so bad. So we need to identify them and then rectify. There are times I see our team members working even at night, around the late night hours. I mean, like around 7, 8 there. The question is, are we working safely? Are we protecting ourselves? Are the workers safe on that point? So these are all hazards that we go through. But if we do it rightly, we protect, we don't put much pressure on this, we take it to the speed that is required to ensure safety, then we shall be well. The other thing is the weather conditions, such as strong wind, wet surface, raining. At least with the sunshine, I think we can accommodate. But with rain, too much wind blowing, it's a little bit tricky. Wet surfaces, some of these poles are wet. If the climbing shoes is not in good condition, definitely it will have issues with you. So also we need to look at and understand that weather condition affects us as in line with the hazards in the work environment. Then falling objects, tools, materials that can strike workers below. I've taken you through an example of Kasangati where the tool fall from height as another hazard. Then also inadequate lighting or visibility. I'm asking myself if we work at height, according to the photos that I see, are our team members able to see where they are working from? Are they able to see the next thing next to them? If not, we need to ensure that our team to have there are these mobile torches like people working in the land mines, I mean in the mining areas. They have torches that they can wear on their head as working at height. That is in case we are not able to have a clear visibility of work at height, especially during those kind of weird hours. It can help us. Otherwise, uh, if we don't look at around this kind of control measures, our team members may get struck by power line. Then physical and mental fatigue is also another hazard that we need to consider in our work environment. Supervisors, please, when you're working with your team, understand it is much important than putting someone at risk. Understand their condition and then see the best way that we can help one another to improve on this kind of condition. Somebody might be working all day, all night, doesn't rest. The next day is at around 5 at work, leaves around 10. So that kind of fatigue and then the mental impairment can cause a lot of issues, and then the physical appearance of our people. Sometimes it's true. I've never seen one, and we are trying to look around to ensure that we stop this kind of attitude or meaning behavior. You are at a site, but you are smelling alcohol. It's not acceptable. So these are some of the conditions that we are going to come up with. In case you fall in that category, by the committee of HSC, I was here in the meeting and we had a session whereby we are giving ourselves up to April to create awareness and talk to members on the ground, supervisors, managers, and the rest of the team. Pass the message around about our safe working habits and positive uh, habits and culture that we want for safety. But from April onwards, it's going to be implementation and punishment. So we take this and we ensure that we work around to avoid some of these things. Defective work at height, PPEs. Some of the PPEs we need to look into it. I've mentioned about a climbing shoe, your helmet and the belt. They must be in good condition for you at least to work at height. Those are the basic ones. Then mitigations, there are quite a number, but some few here we are looking at work at height training that we are creating awareness now. Theory and then practicals will be coming soon as everything moves on well. Adequate use of PPEs. The big manager here spoke about compliance. So here we're trying to look at compliance with the available PPEs. If you have been given, there is no room for excuse. We have to comply and use proper inspection of work at height PPEs. I've mentioned about PPEs for work at height inspection. Close supervision of our workforce or field team members. Sometimes supervisors tend to leave you work at height. They don't inspect, they don't supervise, they don't check how far you are moving with safety, quality to achieve production. So we need to embrace also and consider close supervision of our team members on ground. Then for people, our riggers who work at height, there are times we come close to power line, but please, it is a kind request that ensure to see always the distance between you and the power line. The moment you experience any abnormality in that period of time, or if you are coming too close, or if we are supposed to work is getting closer to the power line, it is better to communicate. Plan B can always be there. We shall never fail to get solutions. When we work together, we shall achieve, we shall get better solutions on how to handle this. Then assessing weather conditions during work at height activities, just like what I've said, weather conditions we normally suffer from is about strong wind, wet surfaces, rain. I believe we are not supposed to work if there is a heavy downpour. Any downpour that you see, it's going to be a health issue to a worker. We cannot put our team to work in that kind of condition. So we need to consider that and then report your physical and health condition of the day to your supervisor to get to understand if you are able to work at height or not. This is not just to stop you that it will be stopping you from working at height, but it's to ensure that you are safe. So if we build this kind of safety culture using these mitigations and many more, which we shall be encountering, I'm sure that work at height can be minimized. Hazards involving work at height can be reduced. The impact of injuries can be minimized if we consider them so seriously. So that's for work at height. I have two more slides for motorcycle. Are we moving up well with the work at height? Hello?
Yes, everything is clear.
Okay, thank you. I have more slide 6 and 7 for motorcycle. I also picked this for our awareness purpose. Actually, a quick one. I wanted it to be for next time, but I think it's important if we just get some briefs about it. If there are people who operate our motorbikes and they are here or not here, we shall still pass the message to them that they need to understand motorcycles, common hazards, and then what we can do to ensure that we mitigate or reduce the impact of accidents due to operation of motorbikes. We all believe, and I mean, we all understand that if you look at in Uganda these days, motorbikes are more convenient means of transport around town and other areas. Likewise, here at Salton, we are having now this, we are embracing the usage of motorbikes for our service delivery, distribution of materials here and there, and even supervision of our sites. However, we also need to understand that these motorbikes come with a number of risks that we encounter during our operations. But the moment you get to understand the hazards that you encounter during operation of motorbikes or riding a motorbike, it's much better than someone who does not know the hazards involved in. Therefore, some of the common hazards that we experience during motorbike, like I do operate one, and a number of issues I see on the road happening to colleagues. They have not yet received any, and I don't want to receive any. But you are in the jam, somebody comes and knocks you, somebody tries to destabilize you on your way. A lot of things that happen, but we need to bring to our attention of all our team operating the bike that we have a number of hazards that we experience. If I look at the nature of our operation, especially if you look at the maintenance and managed services, guys ride the bike sometimes very early they're on the road, sometimes very late they are on the road going back to their homes. What about if you are driving, if you are riding in an area where there is no electricity? Maybe your headlamp is faulty. There will be issues of visibility. So these are things we need to look into and say, if you don't have a clear visibility, definitely becomes hazardous for you to operate a bike. You as a bike operator, what do you need to do? Ensure during your inspection that these bikes are to a standard. It has all these requirements that you think it can help you on the road. The other secondly hazard we are trying to see here for motorbike team is road condition, potholes, slippery, dusty, many other users, steep slope sometimes, depending on where we operate, or busy areas. So it's also upon you to understand that these conditions exist and there always a way that you can work safely along your route. Then distracted riding or driving. I've seen a number of some few of our riders riding, but they're having headset in their ears. I don't know whether they are listening to music or they are waiting for any incoming call. They have put it on automatic just to receive a call. I don't understand, but I'm still here to find out. However, what we need to know that when you have distracted riding or driving, you are exposing yourself to hazards. You may not hear anyone behind you hooting. Anyone joining the route perhaps may hoot, you are not listening. So what's the purpose of having headsets when you're riding? I think it's not proper. Why don't you just say if you get a missed call, you call. It's that you are distracted during your riding. You can be distracted by other road users. That's why it's important that you have to be very observant when you are riding. Sometimes me when I'm riding and the phone is ringing, I don't pick, especially if I'm in a busy area. At least I go up to where I can see there is a parking. I park, I check my phone call, I check my phone, then I call if it's necessary to call. So we need to avoid and ensure that these distractions can cause problems to our riders. Then sometimes negligence by riders or drivers. You reach a traffic light, it's warning you not to go. Actually, it's a red light, but you negligate it and say, "Ah, since there are no cars moving, there are no other road users passing, let me just cruise and go." You're trying to put yourself at risk. What about if they knock you at that very point? So we need to avoid this kind of attitude that we negate some of these rules and laws put in place. Riders or drivers, sometimes have issues. They have issues with the impairment. Some of them, I don't know whether they consume or they don't consume drugs and alcohol. So it's important that we get to understand that when you are impaired, your mind of judgment may be disturbed. You may make a wrong judgment. In the process, you'll collide with the other road users. You can knock someone, you can knock a pedestrian. When you have impaired mind, you can sometimes ignore traffic rules. So it's important that they get also to understand that when you have impaired mind, there's a likely chance of making wrong or poor judgment while on the road. Intersection collisions. Many times, sometimes I even laughed myself. You reach a traffic light where you're supposed to stop and wait, and you see the commotion the bike riders make. A lot of manyanga inside there. No one wants to give the other what access to go. And in most cases, you find all of them are on the wrong side. So such kind of collision, it can happen if we don't bring the attention to our riders, or if our riders are doing that, we need to bring the light to them. They need to stop that kind of habit. Otherwise, it's a bad day hazard that you can collide in between there, and the car can even crash you. If you have been so keen on the road, even people who are using bikes as passengers, it is your safety. When you're using any bike out there, even if not for salt on duty, remember it's a risk. They're all the same risk. If you are very keen with the way you see our security forces are driving on the road, sometimes they take the law into their hands. So we have to be very keen with that. They can easily brush you with a bike and you fall there. So we need to ensure that we we emphasize that our riders try to obey and follow the discipline on the road. Then speed limit, that one, there is no negotiation. If you think that you cannot, someone will not see how fast you are riding, you are the one watching your speed meter, it will tell. But it's important that we need to inform our riders that speed limit is important. Drive within the required speed limit. Otherwise, you are putting yourself at risk. Then lack of appropriate protective gears. That one, we are working around the clock to ensure that it is covered, because our manager here, last time we had a conversation and he brought it out clearly. Maintenance team, Emma, if you did not get the information, here it is that we are going to make a list of all our riders tick the PPEs they have and what they don't have. Then we lobby for these PPEs to be provided. He said after providing PPEs, now compliance, it will be a different story. There will not be any excuse. So I'll pick that site from him and say, let's work together, provide these PPEs, and train now to use them, and then we check the usage of these PPEs. Then the other hazard is the weather condition. I've talked about the road condition up there, but the weather condition we look about rainy, making the surface slippery. Sometimes we have issues of mist or a foggy area that can impair your visibility. Also, it's another challenge that our bike riders go through. But it's important that they get to know. And trust me, if it's heavily raining, even if you have all the raincoats on you, it's still not proper to ride under that kind of rain. You can slide, the cars can crash you. It's so dangerous if we don't consider it so seriously. Then lack of experience. From my perspective, I see most of our riders, though I've not gone through all of their riding permits. Well, having a permit is just an authorization that you're supposed to ride on the road, but do you have the capacity? There are people who can have a permit through window shopping and they're not able to operate or drive. So they are building time to build experience and confidence. But here it is, we are having a crucial operation every time and then. We are operating like bees in the hives. So it is nothing like going to build experience here and there. You must have. That's why it's important that supervisors, we ensure that the team that we are making them ride our bikes, at least they meet the requirements. Because if you check on experience, yes, you check the time he got the permit sometime back, but has he been riding? Anyway, sometimes we need to look into this and ensure that the experience, we have it for operating these bikes. And if you have the best experience, still, you can get an accident if you don't follow traffic laws, if you don't obey other road users, you can still have an incident. Even if you have the best PPEs for riding, you can still have an incident. You can still register an accident if you don't follow the traffic rules and regulations. If the speed is saying 40, be at 40. If it's saying at 50, be at 50 or less, not more than that. So we need to consider this so seriously. Then the other last part of the common hazards with the bike riders I've seen here is not only here actually, but around, because I've used bike for several times and I bought them for several times. There's work and domestic related pressure, stress and fatigue. All this pressure, stress and fatigue, either from workplace or from home, can have a greater impact on you riding the bike. So if you come at work and you're riding a bike, you have struggled with your wife at home, maybe fault, maybe issues with the children at home, it will also disturb your mind when riding. If there is a fatigue, if there is a pressure, speak to your supervisor. Let them get to understand what you are going through. It's much better. I believe options can be obtained. If one day they say, Moses, you're not riding a bike because you have an issue of health, it's much better than putting me at risk. So we need to embrace this kind of situations and then find best way to deal with it. Finally, I'm looking at what can we do to ensure that these hazards are minimized, or safety, motorcycle safety tips. One, wearing of PPEs. That's when compliance comes in. We shall provide, we are providing, and we shall need compliance. Two, observe traffic laws. I've mentioned about traffic issues here. Obey traffic laws, respect other road users, respect yourself when you're on a bike. Trust me, at the end of the day, you register a good travel, you register a good activity that you have gone without any injury. Then also ride within your limit. I've mentioned about it. Ride within, yeah, this is a repetition, ride within your limit. And then we are also planning to have defensive riding skills. I'm sure if all goes well, we shall have it for our bike riders that will help them. But still, even if you have the skills and you don't wear PPEs, you don't observe traffic rules, you don't inspect your bike to check its status, you can still get an injury, you can record an incident. So it's important that we carry out all these one after the other to ensure that we meet our safety standards. Otherwise, developing the defensive riding skills, you can boost it up by staying focused when riding on the road. Be aware of your surrounding. Remember, I said about other road users can distract you. So just be aware of your riding environment. Watch out for pedestrians on the road. Sometimes they cross anyhowly. Sometimes they don't give you a notification, but you find them crossing where they're not supposed to cross. So you have to be careful of pedestrians. Then maintain a safe distance from other vehicles. Last week, I think Friday or Tuesday, was I was heading home. I saw something nasty along the road, like approaching from Kawempe side. This border guy was coming close to the trailer, and the trailer is having a double pulley. Too close, and it's a slope, a little bit a slopey end. So when the trailer had to instant brake, the guy found himself under the trailer. It was so bad. His helmet helped him, and he knocked his head towards the trailer. So it's important that we ensure that our bike riders understand this and maintain that safe distance from other vehicles. Then you just need to also anticipate action of other drivers around you. Use turn signals to alert other drivers of your movement. Otherwise, if you don't do it, it's going to confuse others. Then we don't understand what next you're going to do. So if you're going to turn left, put left. If you're going to turn right, put right. If you have a hazard issue with the bike, you put it double. And it's always good to put indication before you reach that point you're going to maybe negotiate or turn, so that someone behind you is aware of. Then checking your blind spots before changing lane or making turns. Sometimes we move from one lane to another without checking what is behind me through the mirror or what is ahead. So it becomes tricky. Therefore, if we all do this, I'm sure we can try to mitigate or minimize some of these issues we're having with bike and working at height. Otherwise, it has been good talking to you. First time interaction. I believe we shall be doing this interaction so oftenly, either whether physical or online, no problem. But thank you so much for your attention. Begging to stop here. Yes, please.
Uh,
I know it has
I
been
don't
a
know
big
whether
one.
there are questions, Otega, but
Yes, boss.
just to add my voice there is
Yes.
that members, I believe we have all learned, we have heard, and the responsibility of each and every one was cut out clearly. So I just want to repeat again that the management has the biggest responsibility to ensure that all of you as workers, we are safe at workplace. However, it places the responsibility of ensuring the usage of those preventive measures to the employee. So the employer will provide you a helmet, but it is you to wear the helmet. Is because we want to have sorry, I don't know. I think I had a problem with the network.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sorry. What I would say is, guys, Otega is always on our platform. He's on the CUG. We are going to share his contacts. He's also in our groups, such that should you see anything that you feel is a health hazard or otherwise, you communicate. However, I repeat again, should he come on site and find you not adhering to the safety precaution, it can't be a one way that you just say this, you say this, do this. Now management do this, but you don't do your part. Now if you don't do your part, trust me, it will not be a good conversation. The conversation will be different. It is good when you have won all everything, precaution, and say. Sometimes, as I rated, you have checked and seen, I am not in good condition, I cannot climb. This is not to mean that you go and take beer today, tomorrow you come drunk, and we all see you cannot drive. Now, that is a purely, we cannot allow that. That one is actually a total banning. We ban you totally from ever accessing hate, meaning you lose your job. So please, it is cut out clearly. Let's take responsibility seriously. And Apollo is rotten, report, this is rotten. Guys, here, those are understandable when you have all your gears in place. Other than that, from my end, nothing to add. I take it back to Utuko and the other members in case they have any question, anything they would like to know from our health and safety. I think this is a platform, maybe for a few minutes, then we wind up. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Oh, I also want to say that other than questions, well, if you have any input, any contribution, also it is welcome, because this is a platform that where we can pick up and learn from one another on how things are being done. We can guide one another on how things are being done. Emma, I'm still looking at the area where you said to put my name comment. Mm.
Yes, Emma. Good afternoon, everyone. So we have talked about safety, especially at the gentleman talked about safety at height, working at height. But some of our boys, they were not given anything apart from boots, his gum boots. I don't know how you're going to help us with that issue.
Yeah, I remember saying here that we had a conversation sometime back with the general manager, and he has given a task to some few individuals to avail us with the list of work at height PPEs that we have and that we don't have. Then we can cover up that gap. So when the list comes faster, I think the better. However, we are doing simultaneous provision of climbing shoes and related components.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you so much. And I also thank the Mr. Ortega for this training that who have never gone through, and sincerely, this is my first time to have this training in this work of engineering, which has been implemented for us, especially once we come for safety. So we always say, I always hear safety first, safety first. Now, if you can take, for example, the risk of accident that always happen in our country, most of the victims are border, and me who works in the border, motorcycle. So it's like we're highly risky in the what in the percentage we're highly risk. So for that case, we don't have protective gears in in the process of riding. At times, your rider can be safe, 100% safe, but other reckless uh, activity done by other riders can affect you. But that process, if you are protected, I think you'll be safe. So for that case, I don't know what you think about it. Or since most has been saying that there has been conversation going on. Now, since that we always ensure that safety first. Is there any promise that at the end of maybe this month we shall ensure this will be done for you? Because we have started working on bike last year June, so up to now. So if the conversation keep going like this, which hope shall we have? Now, if a company is going to ensure that, maybe they have procured for them, they have assigned penalties. Maybe if you're monitor that you're not observing this, maybe such and such can be done to you. But now our life are still in risk. Which do you have for this? Thank.
Okay. If I got you clearly, before maybe Otega can add something, what I would want to tell each and every member here that as long as you are alive and working in the streets of any town, Kampala not an exception, there are so many risks. And what Moses Otega said, our health and safety officer, is that you could, when you are, for example, we are so much concerned on the bike teams, and we said you could be on the bike, you could be having even a defensive riding skills, you could also be having the permit, you could be having the safety gears, but you fail, you reach at the rights where they are saying red, but you ride. With all those safety precautions, you are going to be knocked. That is 100%. So there is a level of responsibility that is supposed to be taken administratively and at the personal level, that apart from us providing the safety gears and all that, we are supposed to be cautious with our working environment. Wherever we are, as a rider is supposed to make sure that he is aware of his environment. We don't want our riders to be a border rider. That one I will always tell people, we don't have border riders. We want to have someone who is observing 100% road rules and safety. Now, coming back to what you have said, I have already said that everyone has a responsibility. It is the responsibility of the management to ensure that all its workers are safe when working, when moving to work, when you are riding, wherever you are going. It is my responsibility to ensure all of you are safe. Let me tell you something. Today, God forbid, if there is a slight incident, I have to explain at all levels under what circumstances did that accident occur. So you have to understand that we have the responsibility. Now, my responsibility there is to ensure all of you have what we call minimum safety PPEs for you to be able to work safely. So that part is management's part. And we are going to ensure that all of you have the minimum requirement for your safety. If we are people who are going with the bike, I have to ensure that you Whether you are the rider or the passenger, you have the safety helmet, you have knee and ankle protections, you have the safety whatever wear that we are going to provide. However, now there is that part of the responsibility of the employee. So you will never be punished or you will never be penalized, for example, on the responsibility which is not yours. I cannot penalize you for not having a helmet which I never provided. That will be very unfair. I first provide, then what we do, we enforce. Now the part of enforcing is what Moses was saying, because we all have the responsibility. So please, whoever doesn't have the minimum safety requirements, Otuko, again, Emma, you are going to look at the insurance, the people who have not been issued with those whatever, then we are going to issue them, because we cannot insist on health and safety when we are not providing what is required. Remember, this is health and safety. Health and safety. Let me first explain something on the health. The part of health is where we are even looking at, do you meet the minimum conditions for you to work? For example, if you take beer and tomorrow you want to come and ride someone, we are not going to allow that. That you are riding, but you are riding under the influence, riding or driving under the influence of something. Now, I want to tell you a small secret, is that we shall have alcohol brew. We are that serious. At the office, at the warehouse, and some random, we have our health officers. We will find you on the site or even riding, and we are going to test your alcohol level. Because why we are doing this is that we are taking care of our employees. We want you to be safe. In terms of health, that's why all of you have medical cover. When you are sick, when you are not okay, the company takes responsibility and we tell you go to the hospital. So we don't want again a situation whereby our employees feel like that's our responsibility, but the responsibility of you as an employee you have to take it at the personal level. Because when the company has invested a lot, anything we are doing, trust me, when your responsibility is as simple as complying and you refuse, the repercussions are very, very, very dire. So that is the response to that, but I will let our health and safety, if he has something to add, he can add.
I think, thank you so much. There's not much to add on that because you have brought it out. I think it's like the way you say, unfair to punish someone for what he doesn't deserve to be punished for. I think it has come out clearly. Secondly, in case of any incident, God forbid, accident, we have an investigation team. They will carry out an investigation, find out the root cause. Is it human-made? Is it an unsafe act? Is it an unsafe condition? We can take it in that direction. But I don't see the aspect of punishing someone for what he has not, for what he doesn't deserve to be punished for. If there is lack of training, that we have not given you training on this, then we shall still stand on that and say, no, we're supposed to give these people training on this. So I think in terms of this point here is that the baseline is we want people, we want workers, we want ourselves to be safe and execute duties safely. So you shouldn't worry that you're going to be punished here and there because of, no, there's a procedure, there's an assessment that can be done towards such kind of, and here what the manager was also emphasizing much is about, I can see his commitment attending with us this meeting and giving it his insight on this meeting. He is going to work, we're going to work with him to ensure that we provide supervisors, health team, safety officers, we shall communicate together and provide the requirements that we need. He will give us support we provide to the team on the ground. And then we shall request the team on the ground to give compliance leave. Just basically that. So you don't need to get worried about the punishment. What definitely punishments are there, but we cannot punish you for what you are not supposed to be punished for. Just take note of that. Thank you.
Yes, good evening, members. And now, for me, my challenge here is about the bike service. Because at many times, we tend to request for the bike service, and we be like, you first go and handle this one, you first do this, you first do this. By the time we complete the work, it's like it's too late to go for the service. And by the time we post that bike, to be like it is exceeding the time which was given to go for the service. It's like we have wasted much of it, and then the payment we are going to refund. I get the point. So now, is it that can we get that specific time that in time which we have been given, if it 2 weeks, if it is 2 weeks that we are supposed to go for the service, that is 2 weeks, not exceeding like one day, not putting you like we'll be like go there in the evening. By the evening you reach there, the guys already left. Okay, the materials are not there, so by the time you'll be like they have worked on you, you have already wasted money, materials on the bike. So can we get a solution about that? Because it's like a big problem about.
Ivan,
Okay.
I think
Yes.
you are referring to a little bit away from the health and safety. You are but actually it's connected because it's about the servicing of our automobile, the bikes and maybe the vehicles. Now, again, on managed services, there is something we normally say, and I've already discussed this with Carenzo in terms of repair and servicing of a vehicle. Because once again, when you have a vehicle which is or a bike which is not in good condition, is I know Moses Otega there will say that is a risk, and you need to have something which is in good condition. However, it is also very important for us to appreciate that the kind of work we are doing sometimes is time bound. It has some time. We don't have laxity of time. Some days are too brady for us. Too brady for us. So what I did is, even as early of yesterday, if Duko didn't tell you, there was I think two people who went to this morning who went for service, and we were questioned how do we do things? How can we allow two people to go? And maybe one is a breakdown, another one is a service. But from the client side, he doesn't want to see us not having enough manpower to tackle the problem just because we are following or we are doing service. So what I do the transport team for your comfort, guys, is that we shall schedule. We shall schedule, and most likely we are going to schedule this over the weekend. And most likely, guys, you are going to do your servicing over the Sundays. And we can schedule and say these and these vehicles, because we can look at on Sunday when maybe the pressure is not too much, and we can be able to have maybe 4 of them serviced on a certain Sunday. Then the following Sunday, we can have another pair like that. That way, I have to arrange with the transport team to ensure they are there on Sunday because they are always not there. So, of course, Otuko and Fred, that's the schedule that I would like you guys to come up with to avoid this situation whereby someone want to go and do servicing on a Wednesday. And when you look at the numbers of red zone, we are around 60. Number of outage per day for that particular day, like the other day, it's around 85 to 100 tickets running. So, and this goes all the way up to our client MTN. So it's always also good to plan ourselves and be systematic in a way. And Ivan, allow us that one. There's a schedule which is coming out, which will allow you to have your bike scheduled. It might even be scheduled a few days before. If it falls on a Sunday and it is supposed to be maybe serviced on a Monday or a Tuesday, we service it on a Sunday before the due date, so that we avoid the interruptions. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you, teams. Thank you, Otega. Thank you, boss. From my side, there's nothing much to add. It has all been said. Let's just stick to what has been discussed, and I think we shall be okay. Thank you, members.
Hello, everyone. I really don't have anything from my side. It's just that just to say that we just have to ensure that we are safe at work, and as I know our work has a lot of pressure and all that, but safety first, like it has been communicated. So let's all be safe, and we work longer and work in shorter. Thank you.
Otuko. I think the meeting is, we have gone beyond the time you had given us. But allow me to say one thing, just to reassure our employees that safety, as Peace has said, safety first. Even as we push you, even as we do whatever, let's ensure that we are safe. Now, as a requirement by our client, because right now it is this compliance, we are taking it all the way up to MTN. Everyone ensure you have signed, you have written your name on that what do you call it? The comment section. Write your name there. It is helpful us. Then Otuko will share with you some insight on what he has prepared, what the slide on the group. That is from Otega. Then we shall have also, there is the one-page document that is always sent by ZT on safety. We shall also reshare it again. And now, if in case any compliance from ensure you are equipped properly, you can be able to say, yes, we do hold this. And because if you attended this, you cannot say you have not been told, because that would be another problem. So we shall be having a numerous visit in terms of compliance. You never know who will meet you, either is Soliton team, whether I'm MTN team or ZT team, they will be in the field. And again, I want to caution you that they are there even taking photos, especially from MTN. So they will take a photo of a certain bike. Maybe people are not complying. And once it brings to our attention, we wouldn't want to be a person who we gave all gears. But for one reason or the other, he felt so sweet and he refuses to wear. Surely, guys, it will not be good when it reach my desk and I see this is XYZ. I go to the record, I find we gave you the helmet, we gave you everything. It wouldn't be a good conversation. So I want to end it there, and I wish each and everyone a good afternoon and enjoy the rest of the weekend. I know most of us are working. Let's continue with pushing on with the numbers and a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Emma, maybe, I don't know if you are tight. Maybe if you can come and help me here a bit.
Emma, I'm not seeing the comment section they have talked of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let me look for it.
Where is the dialogue? I cannot see it. This one. Okay. This one. Just put your name there. Okay, thank you. This has helped. Yeah.
But I wanted some guideline. Maybe you can just get me a list of what people must have. Also them in the field. They may not be knowing I'm supposed to be having this.
For
You
like
just give me
PPEs,
like a list. Exactly.
Okay.
Then I will share
Okay.
it with them. Confirm if you have this.
Okay. So we are looking for bike,
Bike.
height,
Yes.
and then the other generals, because
Yes.
there's a list which was shared by Ivan. For
Eh,
PPEs, so that's why I wanted, if we can make one of bike and height together, we submit all at once. Then the big man will send at once.
Yeah, that would be good.
I'll share with you the list.
All right. Because we might ask them, do we have this? Some of them don't even
They
know.
don't know, yeah.
The guy knows if I have an helmet.
Finish.
I'm okay. Man, thank you.
You're welcome.